Hey guys, welcome to the Vault. We have some very special content for you guys today. We're gonna do Under the Cap with Leo Rodriguez. We had him on the show last week for This Week in Caps. We're gonna go through some of his favorite projects that he worked on. We're gonna learn a little bit about them, and then we're gonna go through some of the projects that never made it to light. So before we start, Jason, do you have any questions you want to go through?
No, man, I'm just really excited to get to know Leo a little bit more. I've been following you for a while on Instagram, and Twitter and stuff, and I'm really pumped to start digging into some of this wrestling stuff because I'm a huge wrestling fan, and I mean, you're sitting there with Sasha Banks. I mean, how cool is that?
Nicest person I ever met.
Really, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, SmackDown Women's Champion.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, I'm really pumped to start digging into some of these designs. I know the viewers are definitely going to want to know a little bit more about this thing we call Team Describe, and your impact on it and what you think of it. But yeah, we'll get into that. And yeah, this should be a lot of fun.
Great. Let's talk about all of it.
Let's do it.
So starting off at number 10, top Leo Rodriguez projects ever. Number 10, WWE Hall of Fame, NWO. Tell us about this project, Leo.
Yeah, so when I was at New Era, I was there for 3 years between 2017 and 2020. They didn't have the WWE license when I first got on with them. Eventually, when they announced that they were acquiring it, I volunteered. I'm like, I need to be the WWE designer. Like, I have to be the go-to point person for all this stuff. Luckily, nobody I worked with liked wrestling, knew about it or the current product at all. So that was an easy choice for them to make. So this project, when it came about, was just, hey, what was good about it is because a lot of people in the building didn't know a lot about WWE, they gave me a lot of free reign. So like, hey, NWO was getting inducted into the 2020 Hall of Fame. We need a collection. So it was just like, okay, let's see what I can come up with. So I you'll notice in a lot of my favorite projects, I designed caps that I would wear, that I think would have looked cool, and that I hadn't seen before in this mix. So for example, the one right in the middle there, I hadn't seen a cap with a too sweet embroidered on the front. So I felt this is what better time to do it than to make like an official NWO New Era too sweet Hall of Fame. Like, it just had so many elements to being such like a unique cap. And then on the inside of it, just putting like a gold lining with Hall of Fame logos all around it would kind of give it a nice touch to anybody who purchased it and looked under, just to give it another hint of Hall of Fame and WWE. And yeah, that's kind of why it was one of my favorites, to be able to work on something that I've been watching forever, we've all been watching forever, and to see it get honored and to see it in stores. And yeah, that's why it made the list of top 10.
Yeah, I absolutely love this collection. Did you get to work with anybody from WWE on this piece, or was it just kind of, they just give the stamp of approval and move on?
Exactly. That was one of the ones where it was like, here's kind of like a list of what we need, how many, and they kind of just approved a bunch of concepts. This one wasn't as glamorous as like those other ones we'll get into.
Yeah, man. The NWO, though, one of the greatest stables of all time.
Exactly. And it's just too bad they didn't get the actual induction. Maybe this year.
Yeah, definitely this year. We should see it at WrestleMania, right? That should be coming up here in next month. So
exactly. And one of the cooler things too is because I worked out of the Buffalo office, and the last SmackDown, I believe, before the pandemic hit was when the NWO actually came out. So in 2020, to be able to say, wow, I saw like Scott Hall and Kevin Nash and Xbox come out, I'm like, man,
that's fantastic.
I never thought I'd see the day.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I remember first wave, when the first wave came out, just the plain black with the NWO in white was such a panic hat, and I know I rushed to buy it. And then I think it was like a part of the initial wave of the first batch of the licensed hats. I remember being so excited.
And then the Wolfpack one, the red one, came out shortly after that too.
One thing about this collection too is that everything we're kind of going to talk about are the ones that made the cut. So the ones that didn't, that you aren't seeing here, was like I did one that was like a black cap, and the silhouette was of Hogan, Hall, and Nash embroidered in white. And it was just like a 2-color hat, but like with a lot of detailed embroidery, and it looked awesome. But sometimes it doesn't make the approval. I think actually that's where the Too Sweet replaced it. So they were going between the two. So instead of the hand there, it was supposed to be kind of like the silhouette of the 3 guys coming out of the 2 black cut and sew panels. It was like kind of rising through it. It looked pretty awesome.
That would have been pretty sick.
Yeah.
All right. Number 9, MLB Patch Pride.
Oh man, this one. I think this might be the last collection that released
one
that I did. And this one, man, it's so awesome to me because it initially started with, I was just kind of goofing around my computer. I'm like, I want a cap with all my favorite Blue Jays logos on it. I want the retro ones with the T and I want the All-Star logo, and I want the World Series one. So I'm just gonna do it on every single panel. And then I got some current ones in there. And then I submitted it. Everyone loved it. It got approved. They asked me to do it for every team. And then we got the Patch Pride collection, and I'm really happy with the way it came out.
Yeah, this one caught a lot of people off guard. We had seen some of the all over logos and the timeline logos before this, but then to see the mix of regular logos, alternate logos, All Stars, World Series, it was just a cool concept, and this thing went over really, really well. One thing that
continue.
Yeah, just it was kind of odd to see the Seattle Mariners one in here, just because they had never been to a World Series, so you had to use like 2 All-Star game, or I think you used an All-Star game and an anniversary patch maybe. But this was an awesome collection.
And one thing I did like about because it did get a pretty good feedback, and I noticed and I really appreciate it from like all the hat collectors like you guys. They appreciated the selection of patches that I picked. I didn't kind of just put like arbitrary, like, okay, this is like the standard, like you said, like the Mariners one, I didn't have a World Series logo to use to kind of complete the collection, but I still tried to pick one that went well color-wise or like shape-wise, was aesthetically pleasing. So, or ones that I just hadn't seen before, like the Pittsburgh Pirates one had a really like cool logo on the left side that I hadn't seen in a while. So because we had such an extensive library to use, I wanted to kind of pick logos that I had at my disposal, but not a lot of people were using.
So I did hear a few one complaint about this collection, and maybe you can shed some light for us collectors, is the new era flag.
Yes.
I know why they want the branding on there, but like it really threw off the size of some of these patches on that left panel. Can you explain to us why that's so important to them, and when they won't put the patch on there, or the new era flag?
So from the perspective of an in-house designer, we actually ask the same questions of how do some stores get away with not putting it on whenever they do release. So to have like a World Series cap come out with the patch on the left side, my guess is as good as yours is how they get to do that. So with this one, we work on templates that kind of come with the new era like flag on it. So we kind of have to work around it. At most with something like this, I always try to make it tonal so it would blend in, but you still have to work above it. And it really is just like, brand standard now just to have it on everything. So
So the one thing I have heard from some stores is that if they do a retro on field to spec, they can do it with the patch on the left side. But if they change like one color, material or anything like that, it immediately flips it to the right and they put the new era flag on it. So
It's all pre-approved, like pre-builds, basically.
Yeah.
Exactly. So for something like this, I probably like I could always have tried and been like, all right, like for that Boston one, just put the that dope like green monster logo and put it down lower. I'm sure someone would come back and be like, hey, put that back up there and throw the flag back on. So
Yeah.
yeah.
The Boston one's unfortunate because the other side of it is like their World Series patch was so small, but I
Right.
mean to keep the theme, you had to keep it,
Exactly.
All Star on one side, World Series on the other. But
And if I were to have one complaint about this one, it would be that by the time I was no longer with the company, there was a revision on the Cleveland Indians one because they couldn't use the Chief Wahoo logo anymore.
yeah,
So you'll notice on that, instead of like a World Series patch, I believe on the side, it's just like a word mark, which doesn't go with the theme at all. So it seemed like whoever made the edit wasn't following the theme, so it didn't mesh well at all. It didn't look like it was a part of it.
yeah, that was a tough one.
Yeah.
All right, number 8, the SummerSlam.
Oh man, this one. All right, so
Wow.
this was the first collection I did after we acquired the WWE license. What I wanted it to be was a collection. It was a Rivals collection. So I wanted to find patterns from different wrestlers from different feuds that can go on the left side, on the right side. So what didn't release, like there was 3 that I did that came out really well. So it was Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels from from the ladder match, and then there was a British Bulldog, Bret Hart as well. So that one had like the pink and black on the one side and had the British flag on the other. And then the third, I'm totally blanking on, but it was Macho Man and Ultimate Warrior, I believe. So I think like each side had crazy patterns all over it.
That one was colorful, to say the least.
Super colorful, like a lot of pinks, a lot of yellows with a nice like white like string along the front. It was really cool. This is the one that they settled on. It came in a pretty awesome like blue and clear case that was meant to mimic like a wrestling ring.
Okay.
And they made a very limited amount of them. They sold them at Fan Excess in Toronto for SummerSlam. I think there was, I don't know, like 50 of them made or so. The display they did for them was great because you had a bunch of replica belts, these hats in the middle, and then more replica belts. So it really
That's awesome.
It really like elevated the like what these hats were, and like I was super happy and with how they came out, how like both logos are very close to each other. There's not a lot of like dead space, anything on the cap. The embroidery came out really nice. The patterns came out super crisp. Yeah, and it was, I believe it was like a Foot Locker Canada exclusive as well. So it was just like in downtown Toronto, the Foot Locker on Yonge Street, you can get them, or at SummerSlam Fan Access, and that's it. Nothing online, nothing on in store other than Foot Locker. And then right now you can go on eBay and get them for a lot more than what they retail for.
Sure. So I noticed that these 2 are snapbacks.
Yes.
That brings up another question. When you're designing a hat, are you designing a snapback or a fitted, or are you just designing the entire template and then the company decides how they're going to release it?
Yeah, you hit it on the nose. I would usually design on a fitted because I would have wanted that prototype as a fitted. Right. And then when it gets to the people who decide costing and pricing or what's coming out for that season, it's like if they say, hey, you know what, we need another fitted, or we don't have enough snapbacks, or even a dad cap. They could even taken this down if they wanted to. But for this one, because it came in that specific ring box, they didn't want to create too many of them because the cost of the box was actually pretty high. Okay. So to create these in a fitted would have had to make them buy much more than they were willing to.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you.
No problem.
Number 7, more WWE.
Yes.
More WWE stuff.
The customs in general.
Yeah. So this one is one of those times where the image doesn't really do it justice. There was so much more to this collection. The name is pretty, it's pretty basic. WWE Customs, like to someone who kind of, I don't know, it's like I feel like you're just a shopper going on the New Era site when they see WWE Customs. What does it really mean to them? Nothing, like, you know. But what it is, it's like every cap is custom made for that wrestler. So there's what, 3 or 4 caps on this image, but it's a collection of like over a dozen of retro Hall of Famers, of current WWE stars. The But the image doesn't really do it a lot of justice. So the one that I probably like the most that isn't even on here would be a Sting cap, all black leather, white embroidery on the front of the Sting mask, and then a Sting embroidery on the right, satin lining on the inside with a bunch of little scorpions. And why I like it so much, though, is because there was a time where there was a Sting signing. I was able to get him to sign it. So now I have a Sting cap signed by Sting and
designed by you.
Designed by me. And signed by Sting, designed by me. And the cherry on top is that he asked for more. He asked if, hey, could I get a bunch more of these sent to me? So I'm like, okay, I peaked at that point in my career as a designer.
That's freaking fantastic, dude.
You know,
yeah, and I absolutely love this collection. As a wrestling fan, to be able to get some of these older wrestlers like that Ric Flair. I mean, that thing is so beautiful with the, I guess some people call them scrambled eggs on the on the visor, all that metallic threading. That's one of my favorites. Yeah, I have an Ultimate Warrior one. Lots of different stuff. So absolutely love these, and I hope that New Era keeps releasing these things.
Yeah, I hope so too, because a lot of work went into them. Each one has its own set of details. The Macho Man one has a bunch of different like patterns on it. There's the Roman Reigns one isn't shown here, as a few like removable patches, so it's like has like Velcro on the front, so you can put on whatever Roman like patch you want. And it's like there's a lot of little funky like cool details. So not one cap in this collection is the same, and I thought that was a pretty awesome touch.
That is.
Yeah, these are so intense with like the specific materials unique to the cap. You don't really see them anywhere else. These ones, I think, came out slightly after the first wave, probably due to production and all that other stuff. But yeah, this was like a really fun set of hats for sure.
Thanks.
Number 6, Dwyane Wade. You came out with a bunch of hats here.
Yeah, so this one it makes my list because of just more so the story behind it. All the caps are like fairly basic caps, front hits on the like just the single hit on the front or something like that. But yeah, the story of just like being able to travel to Miami for this one, go to the American Airlines Arena to meet with like their design team and just kind of work like all day basically on designs that they had, mixing in like my recommendations to come up with these final products. And then the one there, which is like a leather cap with like the flawless number 3 Dwyane Wade logo on it. That was kind of like the one that I got to design from scratch. Like I thought that patch would be cool. I thought using his quote would be pretty awesome. And yeah, I just thought the whole experience was fun. On the same day, I was able to do a design session with Kelly Olynyk. So we sat down, designed some caps for him too. So just like a full day of just designing with the Heat team. Really good like group of people there, and I almost didn't make it because my plane had engine troubles that morning. So
Oh, no.
I was on the runway, having to text them to push back the design session, but it all came together.
Yeah, man, just to sit down with NBA players and talk about designing hats and stuff, and that's so cool.
It's a surreal feeling to like kind of get there and then be like, okay, and then for them to tell me, okay, like, okay, the team is finishing up their practice, Kelly will be up here in a moment. It's like, it's just crazy to me, like an NBA player is fitting me into their schedule for the day to come up with some hat designs. Like it's a pretty dope sentence to say. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There's a Canadian connection there too. So
exactly. Kamloops, I believe.
Jackie Robinson collection. This one did not touch America, right?
This one did. At least some of them did. I'm not sure if all of them did, but I know some of them.
No, wait, I'm lying. Yeah, no, these ones were American. Asia did release variants of these hats though, with the pins and all that. But Yeah, Jackie Robinson collection.
Yeah, man, this one is like the first time I thought to myself, all right, let's make something like I would have worn when I was in high school. I loved like pinwheels and double whammies and just stuff on like each on the front two panels. This was my first opportunity to do something like that, along with like a jersey style where I could just put the name over the number. And what's funny about it is because I wasn't a designer on the MLB team at New Era. So this actually didn't come across my desk as like a project that was designated for me. It was a designer there asked me, hey, could you kind of like help me out with this? So I'm like, of course I will. Like I just, so the collection itself, I find that even like designing in general, when doing like headwear and apparel, is the fun part of it is the quickest part of it. Like I was able to kind of knock these out like in an afternoon, like the entire collection, not just like these two, because it is overall like a fairly like simple cap. The part that I spent the most amount of time on was that little pin there. I'm like, I want this cap to have like a nice detail to it of like and I didn't think, because I learned pretty quickly when I'm working there, like all the coolest ideas will probably get shot down by legal. So like having a little Jackie Robinson pin of just him there like holding the bat, drew it up, and it got through. And like those little things where they say, okay, like his estate approved it, they saw it, it's like, wow, they really like actually got their eyes on this and liked it and said, all right, let's run with it. And that's what kind of makes this collection special to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think I ended up having 3 of these pins. So 1 from
Nice.
America and then 2 from Korea.
That's awesome.
But yeah, your work stretches far, my friend.
That's the coolest part to me is also seeing like when this did come out. I asked a friend, I'm like, yo, like what do you think of these? And he's like, you know what, I'm not really feeling them. I'm like, okay, that's okay. And then I went on the New Era site and saw they were sold out, and I sent him a little screenshot. I'm like, well, the rest of the world is.
Yeah.
Anything Jackie Robinson, man, it should go, and
Yeah,
for
exactly.
good reason.
And yeah, just again, going back to like, it's so cool that you're able to work with these foundations and these players and whatever, just to get their just approval on it is so awesome. But even get some insight and work with them, man, that's a dream job right there, man.
It definitely felt like it. It really was. And Leon, you can appreciate this too. One of the collections I did that aren't going to be on this list, but was getting like constant feedback from the player himself was like Roberto Alomar. I did a bunch of caps for his like foundation, and it's like, all right, like Robbie wants this color on the Puerto Rican logo. It's like, man, that's all right. Whatever he wants.
Yeah. He always has new hats for like those like tournament days.
Yes.
He does that like the softball, not softball tournament, but like the baseball tournament, and only the players can buy them. I'm always trying to get people to sneak in and buy me a hat, but it's not my size.
So that reminds me of another question then. So when you're working with these organizations or these players or people, do they ever come to you with an idea and you're just like flat out, no, there's no way I'm going to do that or put that on a hat? That would be absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it happens in design. Yeah, it happens.
That was a quick yes.
It happens in design sessions when I'm sitting down with them, and I'm thinking about one, but I can't really say the name. But where I did the design session with them, but with the artist, but their wife came as well, and the wife actually had a lot of suggestions, and they weren't that great. So the way I would work around it, because design sessions are very time sensitive. Everybody has somewhere to be like afterwards, so we had to do everything like within a allotted amount of time. So from my perspective, it's like I can either do it and put it up on the screen that we're all looking at to show them how like not great it looks, or kind of just give them a different option, an alternative, and kind of steer them in that direction. So yeah, almost every design session, there's a lot of ideas that don't make it to the end that I have to tell them, we should do something different.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Number 4, MLB Bun B X Houston Astros. This originally started, I believe, as a in park exclusive. I think you had to get it at Minute Maid. Caused quite a havoc. That suede hat right there. I think it was like gold plated. It was like $200, if I'm not mistaken. And that blue one sold right away. I actually ended up with the orange one. But yeah, tell us about working with Bun B.
Yeah, man. So this one again. So this came about. a designer who was originally slated to do this design session. He kind of, I don't remember if he didn't want to go or he wasn't able to go. And we were just kind of like out to lunch, and I asked him, I'm like, hey, I could do this. I'd be interested. He's like, you want it? You got it. So that's how easily I was able to just kind of take it over. So go to Houston, go to Minute Maid Park. This is I believe this is the year before the whole trash can incident. So
Yeah.
Astros are still beloved. And I meet him, and like before New Era, a lot of what I was doing as a designer, I was designing for battle rappers. I was doing custom apparel for battle rappers. So what I would like to do when I was doing that would like watch their battles or listen to their music. So on my way to like this design session, I'm like listening to all like the Bun B, like Drake features and stuff that I have in my iPod and stuff. So by the time I met him, like it was pretty surreal. So I got to sit with him, and in preparation for the design session, what I actually did that never made the cut, I might actually have the hat here to show you. I actually logo flipped all Astros logos to say either Bun B or Trill OG. So when we sat down, I had a whole like Illustrator file of like pre-made logos that I wanted him to see, because I didn't want to design them on the spot. It would have taken too long. But when I showed him, he loved them. And those are the ones that were on these caps originally. So I want to see if I have one here. I don't know if you can actually see that. So it says,
Oh
like
man.
it says
Dang.
Trill Bun B on it. And it turned into the one that's in the photo there that says Stros instead, because this one, like I said earlier, didn't get approved because it was a fun logo that legal didn't like.
Yeah. There's too much
So,
fun.
I mean,
so
that's crazy to me. Like, obviously he's going to approve that logo. I don't see the
yeah.
Astros really having a problem with that because it's a collab with them, right?
Mm.
So why turn it down?
See, so like you said, like so Bun signed off, the Astros signed off, but the MLB were the ones to say we don't want our logos altered like that. So
Okay,
I can see that.
they stepped in.
You're opening Pandora's box basically to all
sure.
rappers trying to use the likeness to get it. I get it. It's
Yeah.
not nice, but I get it.
Exactly. So another cool detail about that cap is, to the design session, I was wearing basically the same hat, just with like navy crown, gold button visor, and Astros logo in the middle. And Bun saw it and he said, I want that. Let's remake that. So that's why that cap came to be. And at the end of the design session, he signed it. So now I have my Astros Bun B signed hat that says Go Stros on it. So that was pretty awesome. And then so the following year, which would have been last year, I went back. We did a whole other design session, and all these caps got released on Bun B Day. There's a day in August in Houston that's called Bun B Day. And I didn't know how big it was until I saw like the media in Houston covering it, the line around the corner at Minute Maid Park. Like it was surreal. And I'm like, wow, all this for like stuff that I thought of and came up with. And like those are the dopest moments to me. Kind of seeing it all when it comes out. And like it's been years, hats that I've made are still coming out. And every time it does, it's like that same feeling of like, wow, look what me and my laptop did.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, man. So this was a very fun, very awesome project. So I don't know if this August, like Bun B Day, if it returns, if everything kind of gets back to some sort of normalcy, there's a whole other collection of caps out there waiting to get dropped that him and I did.
Very cool. So you've mentioned several times now autographed hats. How many autographed hats do you think you have in your collection?
Not as many as I do wrestling posters, but
Okay.
I try, and any design session I do, I try not to be too much of like a fanboy, but there's really no way not to be when
Right.
you're asking for something to be signed.
Yeah.
So I would say however many design sessions I've done, I probably have a signed product that came out of it.
That's pretty
That's
cool.
so cool.
But there was this one time where I just kind of kept my composure, and looking back, there's really no need to. It was on my floor. I was going to go fill up like my water bottle, and nobody was left in the building. It was like towards the end of the evening. And Dwyane Wade is kind of just like sitting there eating a sandwich. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I'm like, shit, like he was there to film some content. I'm like, man, this is, I should get something signed, but I didn't. I probably should have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How hard was it to get that gold pin approved? Who pushed for that one?
That one, the team pushed for that one. So you mentioned that the price point was pretty high on this one. And whatever the price was meant to like mimic whatever like the Houston area code is. So whatever that area code is, what the price was. So they wanted to like add as many high-end elements to it to get to that price point. So that's why it's like a real suede cap and like a gold-plated pin, so we could justify charging what they did. And then in the end, like it was a wildly successful launch. They showed me the numbers afterwards, and I'm like, wow, that is.
I remember, the numbers they produced was based on the area codes, and so like everything had to do with the numbers. They all tied it together. I just know that the Navy one, they did not make enough because I didn't end up getting one. Because I'm still sour to this day. But great
So if anyone's
hats.
got a size 8 around, hit up Leon.
Yeah, but shout out to Roman. Roman lined up. He went down to Minute Maid and he grabbed me the white one. I'm still too chicken shit to wear it to this day. Optic white, but it's got a crazy under. That's still a really fun hat.
Yeah, and see, so the under on that, from what I remember, it was like it's a Houston Astros H, right?
I think it's like an H with a tequila sunrise. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
so it was supposed to be a B. It was supposed to be a custom B on the star, but they got rid of that one as well.
Yeah. Number 3, the homie Marcus Stroman, great pitcher for Toronto Blue Jays. He had a motto he always would say, HDMH, height doesn't measure heart. So you helped him launch and I guess design his stuff.
Yeah, we did. So that was an awesome day. So didn't have to fly anywhere for this one. I was able to drive back to Toronto. This was when he did still play for the Blue Jays, and it was a cool day. They were doing New Era Canada was doing a lot of product shots with them. They were filming some content. So the way they had it was like they were going to do photography, interviews, and then the design session that day. So I was the last part of his day. And as soon as it was time for him to sit down with me, he got a call. He had an emergency involving his dog, and he left. So shit. But he's the coolest dude. He said, yo, can't do it right now. You want to come to my condo tomorrow? We'll knock it out that day. So I'm like, that sounds awesome. So the next day, it's me, the film crew, Marcus Stroman, just kind of sitting there. He's waking up literally with his like morning coffee. We're sitting there. And one thing I find in these design sessions is it's usually a lot of people. It's like me, my computer is hooked up to a monitor, on like a big screen, so you can see every click I'm making, every decision I'm making, like every fumble and Illustrator. Like it's a lot of pressure. That's kind of why I like that Miami Heat collection so much as well, because that was like one of the first times I did like a big design session in front of a lot of people. So in doing this one, he kind of like, as we're designing stuff, as we're doing like this custom No Vibes vampire logo on his cap, and going through fabrics and stuff, he kind of like leans in and says like, man, what you do is so cool. I'm like, bro, you play for the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm pretty sure you're like pitching tonight in front of thousands of people. Like, no way. So that was surreal to me, man. To just kind of hear those little like nods of appreciation from like guys who I have baseball cards of this guy, like like lawn gnome giveaways of Marcus Stroman that I still have. So it's just like really cool stuff like that. And he especially, like, he's super into fashion. So something like this, like a nice black corduroy cap, like it came out really well. The one that didn't come out that was my favorite overall, because Marcus Stroman, he lives by a lot of different mantras. One of them that was really cool was it was like vino, and I'm blanking on, it's like vino vibes and something else, and we put that on a suede pink camo cap, and it came out beautiful. It was a nice soft, it was a really nice pattern, but the factory that we were sourcing from didn't have enough of the fabric. So that's one of those like hurdles that like a lot of people don't even think that is an option of why a cap didn't come out. But that was one of them. So yeah, it was really fun to work with him. Really awesome guy. And yeah, like a few months later when I was out in New York, he got me some tickets to a Mets game. So that was awesome too.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know that a lot of his stuff, there's like a lot of little hidden personality points. Like there'd be some type of inscription on
Yep.
on the inner sweatband, you know, some type of positive reinforcement, anything. But
Exactly.
yeah, Mark is definitely one of my favorite pitchers to watch more recently with the Toronto Blue Jays, and put the seat on his back. Great player. He had a bad rap on the way out, but I always love watching him play, watching him kind of grow up and becoming a really good player. You know, he for a pitcher, he was one of the guys that were he was kind of short, so they kind of counted him out, and he always liked proving people wrong. So
Yeah, and that's kind of thing like with like him or like even like any wrestlers who play characters on television. Like it's
Right.
like when you get a chance to speak to these people, like they are so like kind. Or for him to even just like invite me, a complete stranger, into his home so we can design and stuff like that. Like you're right, he got a bad rap in the media for whatever reasons, how he handled situations, something like that. But like one on one, he's a tremendous guy.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
definitely.
Very cool. All right, what's
All
number
right.
two? Oh
Number two,
yeah.
All right.
Concepts X Boston Celtics.
So the reason this one is on my list is for what the lucky the logo man is in this cap. Like I was able to successfully remove his cap, put on a headband, fill in his bald head, and it got approved. To
It's
me,
crazy.
that's a huge win, because we were just talking about the Bun B caps, how like certain cool things didn't get approved. But
Mhm.
for this to make it all the way to launch and to be sold and to get product shots of, like, that to me is a huge win as like a headwear designer, to have something as like fun as this be made. So
Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, you very rarely even see just Lucky by himself outside of the Boston
Yeah.
Celtics ring. So even to see him modified like this to look like Jason Tatum, um, or to at least wear the headband and stuff like that.
so
So did you work on the concepts ones too then?
that one I didn't. I didn't do the
Okay.
so and it's funny you say that, because these caps, the logo itself, when I originally like altered it, it was for a Paul Pierce retirement night.
Hmm.
So it didn't make I don't think it like made the cut to be sold with like the Paul Pierce collection, but they kept the design and concepts based out of Boston wanted it. They saw it, they wanted it, so um they kind of took that one over. So there's like a whole Boston Paul Pierce collection I did with like number 34 with like a little signature in it, and this was supposed to be a part of it. The original design of this had like headband material on the sweatband of the cap. So
Crazy.
That's crazy.
yeah,
Imagine, I wonder what that would feel like. Like,
it was
am I wearing a
soft.
sweatband or a hat or
Yeah,
what?
it was
Yeah.
really
That's
soft.
cool.
So
Concepts has a great relationship with New Era, so they're always doing some crazy drops. They never make enough hats, I feel like,
Well,
but
they never make enough fitteds either. They
yeah,
need to make more of those.
like quantity wise, they make great stuff. I included the picture of Tatum here. I mean, he 2020 All-Star game, he would not take that damn hat off, man. Any press he did. Um, yeah, and then a friend of the show, Yodi, did some of the embroidery work for that. So that
awesome.
was a
Cool.
really fun thing. I think there was like a Kobe tribute on it, and
Mhm.
yeah, Concepts X Boston Celtics. That fun project. Last but not least, top 10 favorite projects: the Kobe Bryant retirement series.
Yeah, I'm glad you
Uh,
threw this one in number one, because this was probably the first like large project that I was allowed to work on at New Era. I remember like when it was pitched, it was more so pitched to like, hey, can two people work on this? Because it was such like a big undertaking of having to deal with like legal and the league and the
Mhm.
NBA department in house. So when I actually went to like ask like, hey, can I get my hands on this? I was actually told like, I don't know if you're ready.
oh geez.
So I'm
Sure.
like, I got some good ideas for this. Let me take a crack at it. So my initial like idea was to do a collection, um, obviously commemorating all of his stats, but separating them to like 5 caps like per um like per games played and like separating them between number 8 and number 24 and then total. This way the consumer would kind of be forced to buy like every single one if they wanted to complete a collection. So they love the idea of that, of having, okay, let's try and get as much money into everyone as possible. So yeah, this one is one of my favorites because of that, and also because there's also like another set that's a part of this collection where I was able to draw a bunch of different side patches. So a lot of like historic Kobe side patch art. My favorite one was the one that didn't make it. It was Kobe Bryant dunk champion side patch. That was just, it was awesome. It came out super cool, but it wasn't bought into. And then just to kind of like bring the whole thing full circle is I believe like last or 2 Januaries ago when Kobe passed, I was actually in Los Angeles at the time. We had scheduled a little trip there at the weekend he passed, and like being at Staples Center, because we spent the entire week in Staples Center, was just seeing everybody wearing these caps, wearing either the side patch ones or these ones in the image, and it was just pretty awesome. Because if I had designed these, let's say 2017 or 18 years later, people are still rocking them in Los Angeles. That was a pretty cool sighting for me.
Absolutely.
Did you do the side patch where he's doing the jersey?
Yeah.
I'm still looking for that one, man. That
Oh
one's
wait,
a hard
no,
one to
that one is that one kind of like in a like an octagon type shape?
It's like a big patch, and then
That
it's
one, no,
got, I
that
think, like all his accuments around it.
that was done before me. That was there before.
That one's so good.
Started. Yeah.
There was a lot of great side patches in this collection. I mean, I've seen a few of them on Lakers store and whatnot. Just they need to do fitteds. I know a lot of NBA hats are snapbacks, and I don't know why that's the case, but new era.
It's a popularity thing.
Yeah,
popularity thing. Easier.
I know it's cost and they can sell more and whatnot, but
exactly.
Do both.
And there is another cool detail about this collection is so it's not actually the image, the black cap beside this one. That's not the one that I did. I did a different one that actually had 8 and 24 as like a gold and black logo. But the cool thing about it is that the Lakers store in Los Angeles blew it up to become like this giant 3D sign that stood like in the store awesome. That I had no idea they were doing. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like something that was just kind of like a little image on my screen became this giant like window display for them. I could never get my hands on it, but I would love to.
So I include the black one on the right just as a talking point. This hat is kind of infamous in the sense that I think it was like $36,000 or something. It was like a 1-of-1 gold numbers, comes in a thing. I don't think anyone's ever bought it. It's just kind of rests at Staples Center, hoping someone would. I don't know who would ever buy a $36,000 hat.
LeBron.
Yeah. But it's still, it might still be there. It might not be. I don't know. Since he passed, maybe someone went and scooped it. But I believe it's like super limited.
I did a similar one that wasn't that much. Mine cost, well, not mine. The one that I designed cost $5,000, like $824. Like it was all a bunch of like Kobe numbers. And the way we got that price up was actually we used ostrich skin as the ostrich leather as the fabric for it. Crazy. So they made 8 of them, and like 1 of them went to Kobe, the rest went to be sold, and I don't think they all sold, but a couple did for sure.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Now moving forward, top 3 projects that
never got made. So
this one.
So these ones, so these are prototypes. These are ones that I have that I did that didn't make it past whether it was like legal or just not being bought into or just like but these ones specifically to start, the NBA Brooklyn Notorious B.I.G caps were meant to be a part of Notorious B.I.G release that would have gone with the Brooklyn Nets jerseys that were using like the Coogee print. I don't know if you guys remember that there was even like a controversy where Coogee was like, you guys can't use this pattern, and like guys like deloading, he would wear that like whole sleeve of like a Coogee print on it. So there was a little controversy there with it. So in the end, New Era wasn't able to secure rights with like Big E's estate, so these caps never really went anywhere. But I was really lucky that I was able to keep a couple of these.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's got that jersey mesh, really cool jersey hook. As soon as you post this, I was like, damn, man, how the hell can we
I
not?
even I reached out as soon as I saw you post this too. I'm like, when are these coming out?
Yeah.
Nope,
Yeah.
sorry. Like,
So
damn.
you'll probably see me do a lot of that going forward. Is like I do have a lot of these prototypes now that will never see the light of day, and like I want people to see like, hey, I did a lot more cool shit than you've seen already, and I'm probably just taking my own little product shots and posting them.
So
that's awesome.
looking back, what ratio would you say of projects that you worked on made it to production versus didn't make it to production?
Man, to put a number on it, it's hard because to get to the ones that actually make it, like whether it's first prototype but don't go into production,
Right.
there's still like 10 concepts per project that don't even get to that point. So
Gotcha.
I have like just a hard drive full of just designs in general. So there's probably only maybe like 10% of things that I've designed that actually made it out into the world.
Oh wow.
And like
Yeah.
a whole bunch more that are kind of just either sitting there or like altered versions of what have already come out. Or like a lot of like well, we'll talk about team describe, but for example, like Leon, the cap you have on, like it has the taco on the back, the palm on the front, and it was supposed to have a side hit, but for costing, they took the side hit out. So it's just little things like that that like no one will ever know and no one will ever see.
It's funny to watch them kind of pass through the different stages, because I think the year after you designed the palm tree, the All-Star game was in Charlotte, and they would have like different pop-up stores, and all of the little logos were being able to be purchased by as a patch, right?
Yep.
And then some of the draft hats, like the little pins, that you could buy them as standalones and stuff like that. So just it's interesting kind of how they just pass through the art. You may not see it on a hat, but you might, be able to buy it at, as a patch, in person or whatever. But yeah, that's
Exactly.
kind of fun.
And Jason Tatum was doing a lot of that at the Chicago All-Star game where he was taking a bunch of like little patches, even like a caricature patch I drew of him and threw it on like the side panel of a cap. So yeah, the art eventually gets used somewhere, but not always the way I intended it to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Number 2, player name, Greek Freak.
So yeah, the theme with these ones, it's all licensing, is that I'm pretty sure like Giannis Antetokounmpo is very like protective of the Greek Freak name. So initially this project was called the Player Name and Number Pack. New Era was, I believe, getting the rights back to be able to use player likeness, so to be able to use names and numbers, but that didn't include nicknames. So
okay.
This one again, prototype, really cool one that I really liked. There was a whole bunch of like dope ass prototypes that like I didn't ask for, but this was the one like I really wanted, just in case the other ones kind of like move forward, because I knew this one wasn't gonna make the cut because of the nickname. So I'm like, let me get that one, and I did. But yeah, that's why I like this one so much, is because like legally it shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
So is this like a one of one then, or when they
Totally.
do a prototype, do they do more than one?
No, usually just the one, for like kind of display, like in a meeting, just we can kind of get our eyeballs on it to see how the embroidery came out, how the fabric is looking, and if the colors are what we want them to be. And then after that, if like they don't move forward to the second round, then it usually goes in a box to get destroyed. So
So you snuck this one off campus. Got it.
yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes the salesman will get samples made so they can travel, and when they do pitches in real life, they have something to show.
Yeah.
But yeah, prototypes. That's awesome. You're probably trying to keep it warm too, because he had a chance of signing here, but that dream has
Oh man,
has
what could have been?
yeah, has gone away. But
It's never going to
You
Toronto.
know, he never
All right.
saw the Danforth.
He could have been king of the Danforth. Number 1, Toronto Raptor hat, but done in the old school purple colors.
Yeah, so this hat, man, this hat is an icon, like the one that Drake's wearing. That hat is an iconic hat to me, because it's the Raptors' first appearance in the championship, in the finals. They won. everybody in
Chip with
Canada
the dip.
has cap. Oh my goodness. So I was actually in contact with like the NBA department at New Era, trying to tell them like, look, you guys have to capitalize even more on this. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
everybody has this, but you throw this in like into a purple with the dinosaur in the middle, that's a whole other
Yeah.
set of sales that everyone will buy. And they listened, they reached out to the league said yes. So I was like, all right, let's do it, let's make it. But they said only for sale in venue, meaning
Oh,
I believe, what is it, Real Sports, Leon?
Yep.
Yep, Real Sports would have to be the one to buy into it. So this isn't, this isn't a part of my job description anymore. So I reach out to Real Sports, I reach out to them through Instagram, and I say, hey, yo, um, like I don't even know how to speak to them as a sales rep because I don't know what the lingo is. So I'm like, yo, like this hat is available. Like you guys could buy into this. And they're just like, nah, we're not interested. We're good. We don't want to do that. So it really just stopped there. And that's kind of what happens with a couple projects that we'll probably talk about after this one is like all the hard work gets done. It gets designed, it gets approved, it gets protoed. And then when it gets time for it to actually be purchased and sold to the world, people just don't want to do it. And there's only so much pushing and annoying to do.
That was such a crazy time.
Yeah.
Like
everything
anyone
with
who
that.
could get one could resell that hat.
Oh,
I
God.
remember the day after us winning, I ran to Lids. There was a lineup to buy it.
Yep.
It was just such a
Sport Tech
crazy time.
everywhere.
You couldn't get any piece of Raptor gear. Like
No.
I was thinking, if Kawhi resigns, I can get his jersey. If he doesn't resign, I can get it half price. Not a chance, man.
No.
That summer was different, man.
Yeah.
Um,
And like on the inside of this one too, I put on the sweat, I actually wrote all the game results. So on the sweatband of this, you can see like game 1 through 6, all the results of the Warriors and Raptors games. So I thought that was a nice little detail in there.
Man, what a never
We go
was.
Real
I would have bought
Sports.
it.
This one is definitely one of those like what could have been type caps because like I think it could have been a success in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you couldn't buy Raptors gear in Canada that entire summer.
No, to the
It's funny.
point where because I think you guys know like or Leon definitely knows like New Era's site doesn't ship to Canada.
Yeah.
Right.
So when the Raptors won, they're just like, okay, we're just like
They made an
losing
exception.
so much money at this point by not. So they actually made it available to buy Raptors merch in Canada finally. All it took was a championship win.
Yeah. And then they turned it off again.
Then they turned it off.
And we'll never see it again. So.
Yeah. This one's funny. Well, we're
Days are
working
looking
on
good.
it. We're working on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a fun project. I actually think I know the buyer for Real Sports, so maybe we can laugh about that off air. But
Yeah.
definitely a fun, a fun little journey through your career at New Era.
Yes.
For people who don't know, do you want to go through real quick the story behind the Team Describe and kind of how that came to be? Because I think that's a really interesting kind of way to put it. I know it's kind of mutated and become a Frankenstein of what it is now, but just for the fans one more time in case they didn't watch Saturday.
Yeah, of course. So the Team Describe was a cap that I initially wanted to do to make a more affordable version of the LeBron James cap, the one that had the palm tree on the front of it.
From Better Gift Shop. What you're wearing right now.
Exactly.
Gold.
Exactly. So in doing so, I wanted to put elements along the hat that were different than the one worn, like that were, embroidered on the LeBron cap. So I started with a Yankees cap. So I wanted to do a Yankees cap with Statue of Liberty on the front, like a nice big apple on the back. And then the original design had a taxi cab on the right hit. As I mentioned earlier, that one was removed just to kind of keep costs down, save a few pennies. And then we did the Los Angeles Dodgers one, did a Lakers one, and then I only did about 4 of them just to kind of start as like prototypes. nice Toronto Blue Jays one with the CN Tower coming out of the bottom of the panels. And then after that, it got approved, they were made, but a lot of caps started coming after that, where you'd get like Boston ones with like the Paul Revere here on the front, or like a lobster roll on the back, like stuff that I didn't see or do, or and the thing is, as like the designer, like we don't often like approve everything. Like when we get prototypes and images from like factories, we approve it. We approve like what it looks like aesthetically, but what actually like something like this, I didn't get my eyes on, or like you know, I saw a lot of people complaining about like having like the steak on the back of the Astros one. People are like, we're known for more than just like steaks and barbecue in Texas. So so then I thought it was kind of just going to stop at that. And then I started seeing different stores like changing the crown color. So it's like, okay, now these caps are on black. And then eventually months have passed and we've all seen all these different versions of like pinks and blues and brown,
the nuclear trees.
these mutated trees. So Team Describe was honestly just like supposed to be a basic, affordable, better gift shop LeBron hat, but obviously still an official new era cap for everybody to get their hands on. And now too many people have got their hands in it, and that's what it's become.
All right, so all you listen, we can't blame Leo for the monstrosities we see today. We can thank him for the original Team Describe, but he had nothing to do with it running wild like it has. So
exactly.
So don't send him any hate mail or DM him or anything, don't blaming him. But I know a lot of people still love it because I mean these sites are still ordering them, they're still selling out of them. But yeah, it's I mean it's got to be kind of rewarding to see your design like take off. Maybe not in the direction you wanted it to go, but it's still got to be kind of cool to see all these stores using your designs.
Yeah, for sure, and especially because like for as many as I've done, for as many like collections as like I've designed start to finish, like this one is easily the one I see the most. So I can easily say it's like the most successful cap I've ever had a hand in like designing. So that's like pretty cool to see because it's made the rounds and it's in so many different colorways and teams now. And even seeing other caps that like had nothing to do with just even like the placements of like the logos and stuff like that, it's like, okay, I can kind of see what you're trying to do, or like, why does this cap have just the apple on the back? Like there are even elements taken from it that are being used elsewhere. So it's cool to know that like something again that I just drew up and put somewhere is just being used over and over by so many different people, and it's cool.
Nice. So as you mentioned earlier, you're no longer with New Era.
Nope.
So let everybody know where you're at now and what you're up to these days.
Yeah, so right now, I am designing for Mitchell and Ness, doing a lot of headwear, doing a lot of apparel for them. They're gaining traction. I mean, I saw in the chat the other day when we recorded that a lot of requests for fitteds to come back from Mitchell and Ness. So I'll do my best to bring that back around and try to come up with some cool stuff for everyone. Continue putting dope product out there.
Yeah, are you so do you work with specific leagues or sports or at Mitchell and Ness? Because what do you have access to as a designer there?
So because Mitchell and Ness is like almost exclusively like nostalgia, so a lot of retro stuff, it almost feels like I have access to the same stuff that I did at New Era logo wise. It's just I have to use everything from the past. So that's what's been super fun about it, is like when they asked me to design, okay, do a Raptors cap, it's not the red ball anymore. It's going back to the red dinosaur. It's going back to the really cool like silver word marks, and just being able to work with a whole new set of logos that were not allowed at New Era because Mitchell and Ness had the rights. It's very like rejuvenating. It's like, and it's like a whole new set of colorways and cities and logos, and it's really fun in that sense.
Awesome. So if you start getting in their ear about fitteds, tell them one thing.
Yes.
You need to trim back their visor a little bit. It's way too boxy.
All right.
I saw a few at the mall this weekend. Yeah, it's like wearing a square up front. So tell them
No,
to trim that back just a little bit.
I'll
And I
do my
think we-
I'll do my best because I know what you mean. You can curve it all you want, but it's
Yeah.
not the same.
Yeah, but Leo, man, it was great. I mean, it's probably an hour already, and
Yeah, that
seems like
flew.
it's like 10 minutes. So
That
I want
flew.
to thank you for sitting down with us and talking, going over your career and the projects you worked on, and we look forward to great things to come out of you from Mitchell and Ness, and you know, maybe any independent stuff you're working on. So again, thank you, and we'd love to have you on the show again. So just
Yeah,
let us know.
Thanks
Definitely
so
Any
long
much.
last words?
overdue. Long overdue. We kept
Yeah.
putting it off, but we finally got you here. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, and thank you guys. Thank you guys for like the support you've given me as a New Era designer, as a Mitchell and Ness designer. Because again, like we've actually just been talking like through Instagram DMs for a while now. Like
Mhm.
and this is like our second like real conversation, but it feels like we've been interacting for quite a bit. And what I really appreciate about that is like I've worked with so many awesome designers at New Era who don't really get the credit for all the stuff they've put out
Right.
into the world. They don't really like try and market themselves as much as like my account does, but they're just as great and have put out just as much like influential headwear out. So thank you guys for like catching on to like what I've tried to put out and tried to showcase, and I appreciate all the whole support.
No problem.
Yeah, to be honest, New Era designers are hard to find on social media. The only two I found don't actually work for New Era anymore. So
Yeah.
Well, the other guy we got to sit down with is Universal Article. So we definitely got to
sure.
sit down with him.
Yeah, Vic.
I think he's no
Vic's a
longer
good guy.
with New Era as well.
Yeah.
So we'll track it down. Maybe you can help us connect some dots. But yeah, I'd love to get him because he's been around forever.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
any last words, Leo, before we take off?
Just keep a lookout because we're gonna do a lot of really fun stuff. You guys are gonna be posting a lot more Mitchell and Ness headwear soon, I'm sure.
Okay. Cool.
Well,
Cool.
yeah,
If you need
challenge
some guinea
accepted.
pigs, let us know. If you ever want to bounce some ideas off, we'd love to do it. But yeah, until next time, thank you guys for watching this far. Make sure you guys like, rate, review, subscribe. Also check out our podcasts available on all major streaming platforms. Stay fitted. We out. Peace.